But
I
at the
want
end
to
of the
pull
day,
up a quote from Jarmo in that recent presser, because this will lead us into this guy.
yeah.
This will lead us into the big story, right?
But the big thing here that I'm trying to say is you need to actually show that you can get elite talent if you're
Mm-hmm.
going to make him take less. And Yarmo did.
Let me pull this again. I gotta find this quote. Where is it? No, not that one. It was from, I mean, I got it from Sarah Kent,
Mm-hmm.
who's, a great part of the fan base. Great.
Yes.
She's awesome. And she shares a lot of like the quotes and things. Um, where is this? Because maybe it's just because it's been a few days.
Well,
Oh yeah.
what is the gist of the quote? Because I watched the press conference, so
The gist of the quote is, I think we can throw away the bullshit.
yeah, we could throw away the bullshit narrative that people don't want to play in Columbus. He said he was like, I get a rash every time
Yeah,
someone
that's the
says something negative about the city of Columbus.
every time there's something negative or that somebody doesn't want to be here, I get a rash.
Yeah. So
Which is that's the soundbite part of it,
it's
right?
the most Yarmo quote ever, isn't it? I love Yarmo because
He's so
Yarmo,
brutally honest.
yeah, he doesn't bullshit anybody. He really doesn't.
No.
I love that guy because like he's not only has he done such a great job as the GM of the team, but
Uh-huh.
he's just so refreshing to
I
listen to
found it.
because
Okay, I found it. You want me
yeah,
to read the full quote?
yes.
I think we can finally get rid of the bullshit that this is somehow a bad destination, a bad city, whatever. Because it's never been true. We got a bad rap because a couple of people, Bobrovsky, Panarin, Duchesne, Carter, Rick, decided all along that they weren't going to be here long term for various reasons. But it's never been about the city or the organization. We've just had to shut our mouth and deal with that. But every time I see a comment like that, I get a rash.
Yeah.
Jesus, this guy.
Yeah. But it's true because Wednesday was so important to this organization and the city and the fans because
Yes.
of the past. It's the context that surrounds it, and the whole discussion that's being had right now. And we can finally just say it because everybody knows.
Let's reveal this. Columbus got the biggest fish on the market.
Johnny
Columbus
Gaudreau,
and Johnny Gaudreau.
Johnny Jackets, baby.
Johnny Jacket.
Johnny Ham and Cheese is now a Columbus Blue Jacket, and I am. It's the happiest. I tell you, I
literally
told you
like, yeah.
this is the happiest the Blue Jackets have made me since the sweep.
I was talking with Jason about it too, and it
Yeah,
was just like everybody's minds are blown.
because I was sitting in my basement just watching like TV, just chilling.
Yep.
And I looked down and my phone completely blown up because I wasn't on Twitter. I hadn't been on Twitter in like an hour.
Right.
And like the first text I see is from my one buddy Connor, and he's just like, Johnny's going to Columbus. And my first reaction was, oh my fucking God, did we actually give him $12 million? That was my fear. I was like, oh my God, did they actually just give this dude $12 million? And then he's like, the next text, he's like, they got it for under $10 million. I was like, okay, what is happening?
So yes, let's. Okay, so reactions from us, right? I was so busy. I was working. I was trying to catch up. I was doing all of this stuff.
The first thing I hope this makes you feel good about me. After I saw that text, I didn't even respond to him. I opened up, I looked on Twitter, I saw the tweet, and I immediately called you.
Oh,
I was like, holy fucking shit. There's no way that this is real.
no, because you called me right in the middle of work.
Yeah, I assumed, and I want you to know, I knew there was a very good chance you were working. I didn't care. I didn't care.
I know you did. And it was just like, I get a text that just goes, that says, oh my God.
Yeah.
because you were that excited.
I'm so excited. I misspelled God. And then I called you immediately. We talked for like maybe 50 seconds. And then I hung up because I knew you were at work. I let you go back to what you were doing, but we continued to text. I couldn't believe
because
it.
the whole time, because I was fine. I was mostly caught up. I was like, okay. But the whole rest of my shift, the whole like hour and a half that I was still there, I was having so much trouble focusing because I couldn't stop smiling.
It's just, and I tweeted this as it happened.
Oh my God.
That this is more than just getting a good player.
This is getting a franchise-changing player, Jay.
It's not even that. Do you know, to me, like when people ask me, what does this mean for the Blue Jackets? It's not just getting a, as you said, franchise-altering player. To me, it's just all the years of feeling the angst, the anxiety, like however you want to say it.
Yes.
Of Jeff Carter, Rick Nash, Ryan Johansson, Marian Gaborik, Seth Jones, Artemi Panarin, Sergei Bobrovsky, Matt Duchene. Now there's some flaws with that we've discussed many times.
A few, like Gaborik wasn't as big. Duchene was a rental. Things like that.
Exactly. There's some flaws in it, and ultimately Seth Jones not wanting to stay ended up becoming arguably the greatest trade the Blue Jackets have ever made.
Yeah, the Seth Jones trade. It's funny. I told Jason this. The Seth Jones trade is turning into Jarmo's all-timer. His version of the Duchene trade.
It's his Duchene trade.
Yeah,
for Joe Sakic,
And then Johnny Gaudreau signing here is the all-time signing.
It is. Jake, he hasn't played a game for the Blue Jackets yet. He might be a top 5 Columbus Blue Jacket of all time just for signing this contract. He's already in the top 5. Because, like I said, you think of all those names and all these players leaving and the punchline of Columbus, nobody wants to play there and all this stuff. It's just, we've had to deal with this for 21, 22 fucking years. And it's frustrating.
I want everybody to, pay very close attention to what I'm going to say. Go watch Johnny's presser. Go watch his introductory presser. Go watch his interview with Tim from Tim and Friends.
Yeah, I watched that yesterday.
I did too. Listen to how he talks about players that he's been with, like Werenski, like Robinson, like Cam, like Prout.
Yeah.
Listen to all the players that he mentions that have talked up Columbus. Listen to how he fell in love with not the organization, the city.
Yeah. And, you and I obviously know, like most of the people who make fun of Columbus have never been there. But
right.
Do you know what stood out to me most about the interview with Tim and Friends and the interview with Aaron Portzline on the Steve Dangle podcast that I wasn't aware of? We've seen this before with different players who they never sell their house in Columbus. Nash never sold his house.
Right.
And now he lives in Columbus.
Cam is there. Cam was there.
I didn't know that. I did not know that he didn't sell his house in Columbus. I would have just assumed that he moved to Philly because he's still got several years on his contract.
Dude, Cam was there the day that Johnny arrived.
Exactly. I wasn't aware of that until I saw that photo and listened to some interviews. That tells you everything you need to know about the city of Columbus, that players, they buy a house there. And even if they get traded away to another team, they don't sell it because they plan on living there for the rest of their lives.
Right.
And I think back to one signing that didn't work out for us for the most unfortunate reason of all time. Nathan Horton.
Yeah.
And it sucked that it didn't, but I remember the joy that I felt because of the same exact reason, because it was fresh off of Jeff Carter and Rick Nash. So like that was awesome to see a player want to come. It sucked that he had the injury and he couldn't play again.
Right.
You can never predict that, but
no.
The reason that he signed in Columbus, and he said it many times, is he's like, this is an awesome place to raise a family.
Johnny called it an underrated gem.
And it's not lost on me that Johnny Gaudreau's wife is pregnant and they want
right. This is part of, so
this is very much a part of it.
This is going to tell us, we can talk about a little bit why he didn't choose Jersey, why he didn't choose Philly, why he didn't go closer to home. The biggest thing is you don't have to be right there.
No, and I agree with that. I think that's the thing that people misinterpreted in all of it was, why didn't he go to the Devils? Or they wanted to go closer. Was he going to Columbus? Well, he didn't say guys, he's not.
And can I just say that
he's not moving back in with his parents. Okay.
We're a couple of days into this. This is what, day 4 of free agency. Who knows who's going to sign today? And we're going to talk about the big guys that are still left. But we're 3 days past this signing. There are a lot of fans that are still upset.
Yeah, and I want everybody to know, if you're a Calgary fan,
if you're a Flames fan, yes,
trust. Yeah, if anybody gets this, it's us.
Yeah,
we know how this feels. We felt it far too many times,
and I'm sure
I get it, and I do feel for Flames fans. I do.
I'm sure Islanders fans feel the same way because of John Tavares.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck about the Islanders.
But at the same time, I get their side of it too.
I get theirs because I feel like the Islanders.
I feel like Johnny leaving Calgary is like John Tavares leaving the island.
It's very similar because it's you drafted the player, you develop the player, you watch them grow up.
He says he wants to stay, and then at the 11th hour, he changes his mind.
And let's be real here. I don't think that John Tavares changed his mind. I don't think that Johnny Gaudreau changed his mind. They weren't coming back. And for fans, that sucks. It sucks. We at least had the fortune of Panarin telling us.
Right.
I give him a lot of credit for that.
And I think that helps ease the blow. Yes, it was a messy breakup. But at the same time, it's not as messy as Tavares, as some of the others.
Because, we never really had too much hope of him coming back because he said that he wasn't going to. Whereas with Calgary, it's like they're offering him more and more money, and they're offering him the full 8 years, and they're
offering $17 million.
It's like, holy fucking shit. Like, they are offering so much money to keep this guy because they really want to keep him. And then he decides to leave. Mm-hmm. You hold on to that hope to the 11th hour. And then once, you can't offer him 8 years anymore, you kind of know that you're out of it. Right. So I get it. For Calgary fans, I want them to know, if they're listening, I get it.
Yes.
It sucks. And I do feel the sympathy for Flames fans because it's a good fan base. It's a really good fan base.
It's such a passionate fan base.
And like I said, we know how that feels, but at the same time, I can't help but feel happy for us because this is something we've been waiting for fucking ever.
This is something. This changes so many perceptions about this team.
Yeah.
This is the one kind of move that's kind of been missing.
Yeah. And it's a move that you can't blame Jarmo for not being able to make. Jarmo's always tried to make those big swings. He didn't offer Sheep Mitch Marner, but he discussed it with him. He had discussions with Alex Pietrangelo before he went to Vegas. He's always someone who tries to make that big swing. Right. And I think it's because he knows in the long run that that's important to try and change that narrative about Columbus because it helps a lot in developing a team.
Right. And attracting Johnny is absolutely going to help attract more and more big pieces.
And it's at this point, to me, it's not even for us about.
It's not even just huge pieces anymore.
It's not about attracting free agents. And to me, what it does is it helps you keep other players.
It keeps other players.
You want to keep Patrik Laine. What better,
give him
than being like, hey,
Give him.
You could play with Johnny fucking Gaudreau. I don't know if you know this. He was second in the league in scoring last year.
And he's one of the best playmakers in the entire league.
He almost had an assist per game.
He put up 40 goals as well.
Yeah.
He put up 115 points.
Mm-hmm. He almost would have been a point per game player last year, even if he didn't score a single goal.
Arguably on the best line in hockey.
Yeah.
Through the last year.
He was the one driving most of it. Now, and that's not to take credit away from Lindholm or Tkachuk, who are obviously both great players.
Yes.
But Johnny's the most important.
Johnny's the cog in the wheel. Yeah. It's like, yeah. And you watch him put on that jersey for the first time. You see the promotional material. One thing that I'll say is the jersey ads I got to be okay with now. And kind of everybody has to. Because you look at what Columbus did with Safelite. It's barely noticeable. That's
what I've always said is like, if you look at the jerseys themselves, you notice the ads. But when you're watching the game, you don't notice them.
Right. And it's like you look at the still image and it's like, it looks clean. It looks fine.
Yeah, the Safelite look, because it's all white.
Right.
And it mixes in well with what the Blue Jackets jersey is because white's obviously
a part of the, yeah.
So like it looks clean. Like I don't mind it at all, to be honest with you.
And the smile on Johnny's face.
Yeah.
I made the, you know that TikTok of the cat walking down?
No.
Where the woman's like, here comes the boy. Come here, boy. There he is. You
should have sent this to me before we did the podcast, so I would have known.
I did, and you never watched it.
You should have told me to watch it.
Should have fucking watched it.
When did you send that to me? I don't remember this.
I'm pretty sure I sent it to you.
Oh, yeah, you sent it to me. Okay, never mind. Okay, so it's not your fault. I'm just an asshole.
That is exactly how I feel about Johnny Gaudreau coming to Columbus. Like,
is that not the most Jay interaction ever?
That is absolutely.
How did you not get this reference? I sent it to you.
I just because you are the worst texter on the fucking planet.
Yes. I
love you to death, but like when I have to send you 10 things before you send me one.
That's how I am. I mean, I'm terrible with it. You know why? Because like I'll see it and I'll be like, yeah, I have a response to this. I'm going to respond to this in a second when I'm doing something. And then like, I just forget to.
So we've talked about Columbus's side of this and how huge this is. Mm-hmm. We've talked about Calgary's side of this and how, at least a part of it where it's like, we understand their pain.
Yes.
A couple more things I want to get to with Johnny. One is, y'all better be ready for December and January because I texted you this and you asked me why.
Yeah.
December 9th and January 23rd.
Mm-hmm.
First one is in Columbus. Second one is Johnny's return to Calgary.
Yeah.
Those are going to be huge, huge games to watch, people.
Yeah, he's going to get a lot of booze in Calgary.
I don't know.
I think people were
by then. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
nothing against Calgary. I get it. It's the frustration of a player leave. Like think about it. Like people still booed Panarin even though he told us he was going to leave.
Right.
People booed.
People booed Seth.
People booed Seth. People booed Rick Nash. And then, people really booed Tavares.
They did more than that.
It's a Canadian market.
Mm-hmm.
They're passionate about their team, and they just lost a really fucking good hockey player.
They just lost one of their franchise guys. Technically, two, if you count Monahan and his offseason surgery, which, that's...
Yeah. And he hasn't been the same player for a while, so I wonder what this means for him.
I wonder what it means for Monahan, and that's one thing. But the other question I have for you is, what does this mean for Matt Tkachuk? Because he's an RFA.
Yeah.
He's a restricted free agent.
Part of me, I'm not going to lie. I love Patrik Laine.
Uh-huh.
Part of me has thought, like, What if Jarmo called up Brad Treliving
again?
You know, what if
Well, because
you want to make a Laine for Tkachuk swap? We'll give you some extra pieces because could you fucking imagine if they got Matthew Tkachuk to play with Gaudreau?
And they got Laine to play with Lindholm?
Yeah, I mean, hey.
I don't know, because we made jokes about how we think Goodbranson helped bring Gaudreau in, right?
Yeah, I don't think that's actually true. It's just it's the joke I'm making.
It's just it's a nice coincidence, right?
It is. It's a nice coincidence that Columbus signs 2 free agents, and they're both from Calgary.
Right, they're both just coming out. Yeah. But like I just processed. Yeah, Matt Tkachuk's a restricted free agent, and
so is Patrik Laine.
So is Patrik Laine.
Just say it.
we know that Patty wants to stay.
Yeah.
And we know, like, do you think this is gonna sour the relationship that Matt has with Treliving? Right. That's
yes.
It has to on some level, right? Because he just lost like a best friend and a line mate.
Yeah.
Monahan lost his best friend in the whole world.
I wouldn't be surprised if he re-signs in Calgary.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's any chance he does anything long term.
No, I
get the sense that his goal now becomes
get me to UFA and get me out of here.
Yeah. Either that or let's figure out a trade where I can go somewhere I want to be long term. Now,
right.
The 2 biggest locations that people bring up for the obvious reasons are, one is St. Louis,
mm-hmm.
because he's from St. Louis. His dad's from St. Louis. He played for the Blues.
Yep.
And then the second is Ottawa,
because Brady's there.
Brady. I have to wonder if there's ever been any thoughts on his mind of still want to play with Johnny. I doubt it happens. I really do doubt it happens. But at the same time, Jake, I never thought for a second that we were going to get Johnny Gaudreau.
No, I don't think.
Even when we offered the contract, my instant reaction was, "Oh, that's smart from Jarmo trying to drive up the price."
Dude, Jay, listen to me. Like I said, nobody expected this because even today, fans are still upset.
Yeah.
Devils fans, they just got Andre Palat. They're still upset that they didn't get Johnny Gaudreau.
Yeah, I'm in a group chat with a bunch of Devils fans. They are fucking livid. But
meanwhile,
Neil helped the blow a little.
Neil and Alex have tweeted at me going like, "Dude, congrats, man."
That is the one thing that's been really nice in this process is, like I said, I have I'm in a group chat with Alex and a bunch of other Devils fans.
And we network with Devils
fans
guys
in there.
Yeah.
There's some Flyers fans in there, and in the midst, because when he signed, Palat hadn't signed yet. So in the midst of Devils fans getting, in their minds, spurned by Johnny Gaudreau and being pissed off by it, not a single one of them said a mean word to me or anything like that. They were all happy for me, which is, it's nice to see, like, people, like, even like when a moment like that happens where you're hoping for Johnny Gaudreau, like a lot of Devils fans are basing their entire offseason on if they get him or not, because they didn't get to brink it. They didn't draft Shane Wright.
Yep.
A lot of them were like, we have to sign Johnny Gaudreau. The only way this offseason can be a success is if we get Johnny Gaudreau. So they're all pissed. And they still were all super nice and kind to me and happy for which was really nice. I love the Devils fan base. It's one of my favorites in hockey. But it becomes interesting. I like Palat to the Devils. I'm sure we'll talk about that later on at some point.
Because there are other free agency things that I want to hit. But Johnny, I mean, the majority of the show is freaking Johnny because
it is, and it should be. This is the Johnny Gaudreau show as far as I'm concerned. We can talk about so many different elements of what this means to the Columbus Blue Jackets organization, the fan base, the city, yada, yada, yada. You know what I think back to? One of the first things that I just visually thought of in my mind when he signed was in 2015 in the All-Star weekend Johnny Gaudreau's first All-Star appearance.
Mm-hmm.
It was in Columbus, so he had a weekend to kind of see the city, experience the fans a little bit, walk around, see different things about the city. You know, the biggest memory for Johnny Gaudreau that weekend was the shootout thing where Ryan Johansson brings out his kid during the shootout and he
Right.
scores, and then Jake
And then-
Voracek takes him like he's a little kid,
Who's now his teammate?
and who's now his teammate. That's the first thing I thought of, and I don't know if the All-Star game really had any impact on it, but even if it just had a 1% impact on his decision, if memories from the All-Star weekend had any boost to him wanting to sign with Columbus,
Mm-hmm.
is it not the most unfortunate or most fortunate thing of all time? Because if you remember, the All-Star game was supposed to be in Columbus in 2013, but that was the lockout shortened season.
Right.
So it got pushed back to 2015.
Yep.
So if it gets pushed back to 2015 and that has any impact in him and his love for Columbus and wanting to come to Columbus, then how fucking fortunate is that?
Yeah. And Lord knows now he's got plenty of time to get used to the cannon.
Yeah, he's got a lot of time. He talked about that. It was funny in his
so
press.
funny. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so excited about this. I'm excited for
Johnny.
I'm excited for him.
Johnny Hockey is a Columbus Blue Jacket.
Yeah, I cannot believe it.